Hey, what is up?
Hey.
Executive recruiters and hashtag the Herc and hashtag Ursa and hashtag recruiters online and hashtag all the other places where our tens of viewers see us. But welcome to the show, Headhunters and Boxers Talking Smack. This is our first show, 2021. We're slightly excited to be here for you.
You know what I always say? New year, new you.
New year, new you. That's right.
Huh?
And Neil actually has a lot planned. I think he plans to come out of the closet on this show. So we're very, very excited for that. But
don't do that again. I told you last time you joked about that. I got my gay stalkers. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I want to avoid that again.
Beat me to it. Well, this is David Stephen Patterson. You may know me as DSP. This is my lovely co-host Neil Lebovitz, and we have on today a very special treat for you, Ryan Anderson, who just started his firm. He's actually a client of Neil's. That's how we came to know him. And yeah, we're really excited to talk to him and find out some of his success strategies, because when Neil books, so just so you know, Neil and I trade off. You know, Neil does 1 week and I do 1 week, and that's why. And so Neil messaged me, said, dude, I got this guy, Ryan. He bangs out 30% fees. He's charged like 150% markup on temp. That's nuts. I'm like, oh, we should have this guy on. So here we are.
Here we are indeed. Now, I noticed that we're going to keep that new music ongoing, like 2021. We've changed the vibe, right? I like it. I like it.
We're sexy.
Yeah.
We can always go back to the other one too.
No, I think the new year. It's weird that the new year is always like, it's an arbitrary date, really, right? It's a lunar date. And all of a sudden people expect everything's going to change, right? Like this year is going to be different. No, it's just 3 days later, as we already saw 2021. I saw a hysterical meme. Someone posted on January 7th, which is like the other day. They're like, I'd like to cash in. I've taken the free trial for 2021 and my 7-day free trial is up. I'd like to cancel my subscription. You know, I'm like, it's the same shit. I would say different year. It's the same shit, different day. Like, isn't it weird that like on December 3rd, January 1st, doesn't like normally a month in business. If I say we have a guest coming on, on February 6th, that's coming up soon. But when you're at like December 3rd, January 5th, mentally feels like it's eons away, doesn't it? It's weird, that whole, don't you think? I'm rambling.
It does. Well, it feels like, I will say, in December you kind of check out. Like, no one starts a weight loss regimen in December.
right. Known as a December resolution.
Yeah, no one does that shit. I certainly don't. And so the few pounds I gain over Christmas, like, I'll get it first week of January. Anyway, let's talk to Ryan, because Ryan, I want to leave him out of our show. He has a lot of stuff to tell. So Ryan, tell us a bit about you, man.
Yeah, it's funny you say that on the workout. Actually, this is the first week I haven't worked out in the last 18 months, just because I've been so busy at work. So I was enjoying the holiday time, being having a lot of free time and hitting the gym for 2 hours every day. And now it's been back at my desk and trying to catch up.
2 hours every day?
Now I have to ask.
Might be exaggerating a little, but at least an hour a day.
Wow. What kind of workout? Are you lifting? Are you a cardio guy?
Yeah, mostly weights 5 days a week and cardio 1 or 2 days a week.
Now, are you doing any program like CrossFit, XFit?
No, I'm doing the program called Keep the Beer and Pizza Off.
Beer and pizza off.
Yeah, look, we're going to talk about this. And part of Ryan's thing, though, Ryan, you're very, very regimented, right? Very very appropriate and very specific about how you attack business and stuff. And I think it's interesting because it makes sense that you work out regularly and you have that. That's just what you got to do. And I think that seems to be very you.
I'm very intentional, but I'm not regimented.
I think that's the word I meant. Yeah, no, it does. Intentional is exactly the word. Really, I think it's a perfect one.
Now, Ryan, I do want to say this. So, with regard to working out, and maybe you guys have noticed this, but this is my theory. So, I noticed that whenever guys get in shape and they start to get that chest, they start to get a little bit lean. There's this medical condition that I find.
Oh, don't tell me you're going to talk. Don't wait. Are you going to talk about the hair coming off again?
Did I ever say that one? Yeah. So
oh my God, several times on this show. Go ahead. Can I tell the story?
It's a real thing. It's a real thing. I need to get more original shit. All right, never mind. Anyway, so that's
tell it for the new viewers for 2021. I'll pretend.
I have this theory that when men get in shape and all that, their hair starts to fall out of their chest and they start getting like this tan, which is weird. And then their hair falls out all except for this big circle in their middle back. For some reason, it falls out there if they're single. You know, I don't know how that's medically possible, but I've noticed that a lot. It happened to me.
I like that. I have very little hair on my body, but I've got that little tiny tuft, that little circle right above my rear and the lower back. Isn't that weird? What the hell is that? Like, there's a purpose to hair, right? Hair everywhere, like hair in your ear even to stop shit from going in, and your nose, right? So like to protect, like, you know, filtering stuff. Like what with facial hair to keep you warm. Like, what's the purpose of lower back hair, do you think? Like medically, like evolutionary.
I think, you know, those gorillas, like the whole silverback thing. And I think as you get older, you get that silverback. Unfortunately, you know, for us, it's not really silver, but I think it's a vestige of those days, possibly, maybe.
I think maybe it's meant to cover that embarrassing tattoo you got in college.
I had a tramp stamp. How did you know? I love the tramp stamp. For me, no. Anyway.
Yeah, no woman I've ever met has ever been glad that she got herself a tramp stamp.
I'm one of the freaks. I actually kind of find them sexy. No, I really do. I think
Corpus Christi, first spring break, come back with a tramp stamp. My God, if it did that, I'd be livid.
Well, I don't think she'd. Well, here's the thing: they would hide the tramp stamp, but that's a really hard one. I don't know. I think it's I think it could be sex. I mean, you don't want your daughter to have a tramp stamp. For one, she's like 3, dude.
Well,
right?
Well, I have a 13-year-old daughter as well.
Oh. Yeah. Now that I'd like to see. All right, that's a little creepy. Sorry.
Sure. Actually, I will say this. No, if you're under the age of 25, you do not make good tattoo decisions. You may make your from experience, I've gotten tattoos when I was younger. I've regretted the tattoos I've gotten since my frontal lobe is fully formed have been awesome tattoos because you pay for them, you pay for quality. But when you're like 18, you get this bullshit, cheesy, you know, discount. I have a coupon tattoo on your ankles. You think it looks cool.
Right. Don't tread on me, a snake, a little cheesy looking snake.
Never use a that's a good tattoo. But never use a coupon for a tattoo, that's all I'm trying to say.
You're right. There's several things. That and discount sushi. Like, I don't want to go to a gas station that has 2-for-1 sushi special, you know, on the boxes there. Like, that's just, I'm going to spend my money on the fresh decaying flesh.
Never buy sushi from a gas station.
Right. Yeah. I also have a no fish at the airport policy.
Exactly. Yes, 100%. All right. So, that said, I wanted to, obviously, I'm sure people love to hear more about our back hair and our sushi policies. But with that said, let's talk about the man of the hour, man. So you just started your firm, right?
About 9 months ago, yeah.
And 9 months ago, yeah. So how's that been? I know for a lot of folks, and I can tell you stories about me starting when a recession happens. I think sometimes starting a firm during a recession, a beginning of a recession, is actually a really good thing because it's kind of it's like the crucible. If you can make it through that, you're in really good shape. So describe how has it been? Going through a lockdown
at the worst time. At the worst time. What you get? I think as an intro, I think that's a great story. Like, why did you do it? Now, you were in the business. People who aren't pulling up on LinkedIn, you're a pedigree finance guy, like Ernst & Young, like I was, right? And then you went and you were in the industry for a bit, but working for a larger company in the industry. Not that many years, right? I know there's some gas in it, but not like a ton, but a decent amount. But working for the man, as they say. Then you went back to accounting, which is so interesting. I never really see that. And you went to Deloitte, and then you came back, and then you opened up your own thing, placing finance specialty people in a niche and just in your location, right, in your area. And you do that right in the beginning of the recession. So fill us in on all of that.
Yeah, so I got a little taste of it. So I left public accounting 11 years ago. Yeah, for the first time, and then went to work for a firm that did more like, salaried consultants, a little bit more of a, not a boutique, but a regional firm that did a lot of transaction support, helped out some of the big four firms. But I was a billable consultant, and I had started kind of transitioning out of client service, and I was starting to transition into more of kind of a management sales role. And one of the last projects I was on, they sent me to Arizona for this opening balance sheet work. I don't know, some boring technical accounting stuff. And I fell in love with Arizona. It was wintertime. I was living in Chicago at the time. It was 75 and sunny every day here in January, and back home in Chicago, it was 10 degrees and snowing. So fell in love with Arizona, and worked my way out here about 18 months later. My wife loved it. We didn't have our daughter at the time. Now we've got a 3-year-old daughter. But that was we moved here about 6.5 years ago. And I found, prior to moving here, I found what I thought was a very similar firm, but it turns out it was much more traditional staffing and recruiting, a big national firm. That was
Vaco, right? Vaco, then that would be, right? Coming into the Vaco group?
Yeah. Yep. And really, really found that I kind of transitioned immediately more into a management sales role and stopped billing hours. So really found that I had a knack for it, really liked the work, really liked helping people, connecting people, but really just didn't like the firm and didn't like my boss. So ever since, 6 months in, I knew that I could do this, and I knew that I wanted to have success in this business, but I just knew I was at the wrong place. But I kind of had golden handcuffs because I had quick financial success. The way we get paid, it's about a 6-month lag. They own your rights after you leave because I signed a super restrictive non-compete.
Wait, they own your rights? What do you mean they own your rights? That sounds a little religious and a little creepy. They own your essence. We signed to a soul agreement in my contract. They own your rights.
Yeah, pretty well. My right to work in that industry in Arizona for a period of time. Certainly.
What was it like the devil that actually signed your contract with you? Was there a guy in a red suit with a pitchfork kind of thing? You sign here, Ryan. Sign here.
In hindsight, I should have pushed back.
Little smart reference there for a Faustian bargain.
Is that what it's called?
Faustian, yeah. It's where you sell your soul to the devil, and it comes from that guy, something Faust, whatever, who.
Right.
Yeah.
As a rule, when you're negotiating your deal and you see the pitchfork and then the tail on the person, that's the giveaway for me, right? That's the point where I'm like, I'm gonna send this to a lawyer.
And actually,
pardon me, devil. Pardon me, Satan. But I'm gonna have my lawyer review this, if you don't mind. And no offense to you. Oh, you're turning red. What? Don't be that upset. Oh, it's your natural color. No, it's just me. Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah, so I just saw there's a question in the chat. So they're asking a 6-month lag on variable comp, I guess. So I was paid a month in arrears after it was collected on. So for argument's sake, I put a deal together in this month in January. We'll bill for it for the first time in February. We'll collect the first piece of it probably in April. And then I'll get the first piece of that 2 months later in June. And then that'll trickle in over time. So that's what I mean by the golden handcuffs. Right. I could literally sit on my hands for 6 months and it wouldn't affect my comp for the next 6 months. Well,
it's like the temp side of the business, right? When people come in, they're like, well, I don't need funding money, or I got enough. I'm like, well, here's the problem. You start. It's going to take you a couple of weeks, let's say, whatever, to get a contract, even when you're starting your thing out. Once you get a contract, then you fill it. You got to fill it. You got to get your person to start. They start today. They finish up a week from now. Then that time card doesn't get processed until the following week. And then the invoice goes out. Then the client says it'll take up to 30 days to do it. Then that comes in. Then it's got to meet the cycle for it. Then you get paid. It's a long time. For a beginning startup in anything, you're going to have that arrears situation. Yeah.
So I had, I stuck it out. I was miserable for about the next 3 years, but I was making really good money. I liked the 80% of my job that was client service. So it was, I was able to stomach the bad management and the bad company culture.
Okay, so I have to ask, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you didn't like your boss. So before we get onto the story, I'm just curious. Name one thing that you didn't like about this fella or gal. I don't want to assume either way. But what was your?
Just would do very unethical things to, put an extra $1,000 in his pocket.
Well, because the reason why I asked this because we have a special guest today. We tracked down your old boss from Vaco.
Hey, yes, this is the theme of the new show. This is your life. Ladies and gentlemen, Art Schmorgenstern. I don't know why I just made him a Jew. That was not nice. That was wrong. He didn't have to be Jewish.
He's part of the chosen people, Neil. It's all right. It's all right.
But it's funny though now, because now that I'm on the other side, and now that I have my own business, I've picked up 3 different clients that I never worked with before when I was with a big national firm.
Wait, but hang on, you're talking about Rye. You're talking about your own business now, right?
Yeah. So I skipped ahead a little bit, but I just wanted to mention this. So I've had 3 clients in the last 8 months since I launched my business saying, I'm so glad you left. Now we can work with you because we wouldn't give, my old firm any business. So
but you left your old firm, you went back to Deloitte now. So now you tasted that, you go back to again, and that's more consulting, whatever. So that's all interesting. All right. So you say finally, and as we just saw in that quote on there, you're going to leave stuff on the table. It's about losing the battle to win the war. And then you say, screw it, I'm going to do it on my own. And you went in, it was already the pandemic, right? It already started.
Yeah. So it was interesting. So I went in one day and called my boss a scumbag, and that was it. And I left. And, in hindsight, it might not have been the best decision because I left 6 figures on the table that was due to me in outstanding collections.
But what wasn't the best decision? Leaving the money on the table or calling your boss a scumbag? Because one could argue that that's never a great move.
Well, I would say those kind of go hand in hand. Once I called my boss a scumbag, it was I was shown the door. So
it's amazing how that happens. I've noticed there's certain things in life where there's an action reaction. And that one is similar. It's rare that you could call them a scumbag and not have that happen afterwards.
But I was, I feel good about it. And now with the benefit of hindsight, 2.5 years later, it's the best decision I ever made.
But going into opening up in a pandemic, no fear. No, again, there wasn't. But I want to. So let's share that because I want to segue into some of the messages I think that are great for you, for the audience today. But how is there no fear knowing that everyone else is shutting down? Everyone's saying the recruiting business is dead. And we've talked tons of numbers. It was down at peak 25%. It sucks, but boatload of business still out there, right? Temp business, people are still bitching, but temp business is great now versus what it was, So yeah.
So there was. I mean, I guess the premise of your question isn't there. There was fear. I was scared. But when I was at Deloitte, I always had this in the back of my mind. But to be fair to them, I was all in. I was 100% committed to my job. But the pandemic actually created a great opportunity for me because this was always my dream. And when the pandemic hit, the group that I was in was essentially paused. And everyone I was in a consulting group here in Phoenix. It was the consulting arm of the audit practice. And my group was basically paused, and everyone was asked to kind of move back into audit. And I didn't have an appetite to be an auditor anymore. I was free and clear of my non-compete. And I had a wonderful opportunity to leave on good terms, start my own business, help them trim the group down. And because they were looking for some volunteers to leave as well. And, I met with everyone. I met with all my old competitors. Most of them called me the week that I left. And so I'd been meeting with them over the last 2 years, and there was just no one that there was nowhere that felt like home. And the only reason for joining someone else was just the security of, I guess, the false security of working for someone else, because it's still a commission job. So if you don't produce, you're out. So I still, I had all the risk going to join someone else. I had all the risk with only 25% of the upside and without any of the control. So when I look at it that way, I was still scared. There was still fear. But when I thought through everything else, fear was the only thing holding me back. And that's a terrible thing, to base your decision on.
Well, it's a great motivator as well. When you go start your own deal, your own business, when you've got that, I call it the gun to the head mentality. When you have you may be nervous about calling a person or whatever, like a VP or a CFO for business, versus making 100 calls a day versus waking up super early to get down early, and all those things can kind of there's a resistance to that. If you literally had a gun to the head cocked and said, all right, you do these things or you're dead, it changes your behavior when you start your own firm and you're in the middle of a recession. I've done that as well. Man, I'll tell you what, talk about a motivating situation, because I'd imagine when you started it, you probably had no problem getting up early, making the calls, doing the uncomfortable things, right?
Well, it was exciting because I was, when I was with a big national firm, I was embarrassed with the name on my business card. I didn't hand out business cards. I didn't want to tell people who I worked for.
Wow,
but now it was totally different, because now when I have my own firm, I'm excited to call people and tell them what I'm doing and how I can help. And so it's a completely different mindset.
Yeah, and also, I will say this. Sorry, Neil. I will say this just real quick. There's also when you say because it's your own deal and you're proud of your firm, it's like your baby. And one thing I've noticed is that if you're selling somebody else's services, right, you don't really. There's a lot of times you have this lack of belief in what you do, which just means you don't close well enough, you don't close at all, as opposed to when you believe in your bones that what you have is better than anybody else's, you love it, it's your baby, it's your offer, your service, whatever it is. It gives you that motivation to close extra hard because this is going to benefit them. They just don't realize it yet.
So I want to totally. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and to add on to kind of what you said, that's, I think, one of the biggest secrets to success in this business that a lot of people miss is a lot of times what you're selling isn't different than what your competition is selling. A lot of times it's the same candidate pool. What's different is the way, I go about it and the way other people I respect go about it. And that's being transparent, being honest, not overselling people's skill sets, not trying to, close a deal if it's going to be bad for business long term. Just being honest and transparent and telling the clients, a lot of times, hey, this is a commodity. This role, my competition might have some of these same people, but they're not going to be as honest or transparent or, tell you about their flaws like we will.
Well, I will say this too, and obviously you do want to make what you have different, but that's why I don't like it. I don't like it when people say that our product is the candidate, because it's not the candidate, it's the service.
Right.
It's the service, the process, and the act, and obviously, the candidates you may have access to. Let's say you recruit passive candidates, your competition doesn't. For example, then obviously the candidates themselves will be different. So there is access to a greater candidate pool. But yeah, I mean, it's not that hard to make your service completely head and shoulders above all of your other competitors if you at least get out of the mindset that your candidate is the product, because your candidate is not the product.
All right, so listen to this with Ryan. So what Ryan's not telling you in this is that Ryan not only comes into it in the beginning of a pandemic, or I know every time I say that, David is like, it's the flu, so stop calling it the pandemic. But forget about what we call it, other than a lot of people were very scared and business did drop. And so Ryan, when Ryan first started placing people, I remember I got a call from someone saying, what's up with this Ryan guy? I'm like, what do you mean? Is this right? This can't be right. I'm like, what can't be right? They're like, and long story short, there's a temp job and you're marking it up 150%. whatever the number
I
is,
don't.
120%. Like what you don't care. You go in, everything you do, dude, is high priced. I don't mean overpriced. Premium. You are charging for this. What you're talking about now. You people pay for you to do it. You're not giving stuff. You're not coming and saying, "Let me give you 3-for-1 deals," or "Let me give you my cost on a crappy markup," like a lot of people do in my back office. "Let me give you a perm deal at 10%." You're not doing any of those tricks. So why? And tell us like how you get away with it.
Well, it's not I don't view it as and you're gonna. If any of my clients are watching this, they're gonna come back now asking for discounts. After what you just said, but
I think we don't get any. We're good
Dude,
to go.
we literally have 12 viewers. Okay, so if your client's one of the 12, they need a life because this is for recruiters. So you're good, bud. You're good.
But no, I don't. And that's the thing too. I think that makes me I have a little bit different mindset than a lot of people, especially who are early in this business. Is I'm happy to be transparent with my pricing structure with my clients, because I don't apologize for the value that I provide for my service. So, that's part of it. Is
like that's a core belief in order to charge that. You know what I mean? And
yeah. So I've never once thought that I was overcharging a client.
You're not overcharging him. For the record, you're not. I mean, keep going. But I'm gonna say, I told my guy, I'm like, what he's doing is what he's good is what he is. He's getting, and you're still giving him a deal, right? So again, you come to your world of Ernst & Young or Deloitte, which just can apply to almost every niche that's out there. It's what I don't understand. It doesn't, you could charge almost anything for your service that's reasonable for the output of what they get. And it could be far more than anyone else. Deloitte or Ernst & Young, when you were going out and you were being charged out, I remember I started there, I'm dating myself, but when I worked for Ernst & Young, I was making $30,600 at my first year. So do the math on that. That's $15 an hour. I was being charged out then at $150 an hour. It's 1,000% markup, right? So but you just boom, this is what it is. And you didn't look back, but in the beginning, you didn't even feel the need to discount, to say, let me get, like, you just went, like, what are your perm fees? What are your average perm fees?
So I do discount my perm fees in order to, in certain situations. So, and I do, so I was trying to count before we came on the show, 3 that I know of, but it's tough because I don't have any record of the free placements that I make, where I make a connection to help an existing client or to help, someone who's in my network who maybe it doesn't have the right resume where someone would be willing to pay a fee for it, but they're, great at what they do and they're a rock star. It just doesn't look like it on paper. So I've had at least 3 of those since I started. And I do discount permanent fees, but I don't really, I'm not, pricing is really, it's fair pricing, I guess. And it's, maybe it's a little bit premium pricing, but I'm dealing with premium consultants and premium service. So, for example, I have no policies. I've got 5 core principles, but I don't have any policies like, hey, if someone doesn't work out within the first 24 hours, I'll guarantee them and refund your money. I just one of my core principles is do the right thing. So if someone's there 2 days or 2 weeks and the client's not happy, they're not going to pay a dime. So, that's on me. And that's just doing the right thing. So I don't have, that's all built into my pricing.
Right. But go ahead, David. Yeah.
Well, I will say this: there's a difference there when you look at doing the right thing and maybe you try to discount here or you make it right with the client, and that's one thing. I do see that people, I call them weak salespeople. They make this, I guess, going back to the Faustian bargain. They make the Faustian bargain, meaning, let me just compete on price because that's the easy thing, and then they get trapped in that, and they can never develop the skill set to actually sell their offering without having to provide a discount, and they're known as the discount provider. And I'm sure being from the Deloitte world with you guys, if Deloitte came in with discount pricing, their prospects will probably think, "Oh, what's wrong with this?"
Oh, absolutely.
Right? When I get super discount pricing, it makes me think like, is there something up here that I'm not aware of? I almost never go with full discount pricing for anything that I get, because I want to make sure that I'm paying for a good quality product or service.
Over and over again, if you buy on blind taste tests for wine studies, and the Economist did a major story on this, like I think they're the first ones to ever do it, but if you tell someone it's a premium, expensive red wine, and then you give them the cheap red wine, even though it's mixed up, that people, the same wine, people will view that premium priced wine as the one they need to buy, the one that tastes better. That's how much it affects perception, right? So it's absolutely true. And so Ryan, to your principles. So Ryan, you're really interested, right? So you charge what I think is not overcharging at all. I think it's absolutely how I charged it and would charge it, and how I think everyone should charge it. Like, if you're going to use me, I'm going to be reasonable. You pay for a startup. It's great. You're making a boatload of. You're doing really well, right? So this is what everyone needs to know. You're killing it. Okay, killing it. And your clients come back for more and more, and you get more and more clients, and no one's leaving you, and no one forces you to pay your temps holiday pay when the client won't do it. I mean, and every time I was like, take care of these 6 people. They're getting holiday pay. Like, you're doing that because it's back to your principles, right? If that's like doing the right thing or going above and beyond, or what do you do? Like, treat them as you want to be treated as a consultant? Like, it's working for you. Great. That's why I want you on the show. But like, you do all sorts of things like that.
Yeah, it's just creating an environment where people want to work with me rather, the consultants, I want to treat them like family, because without them, I've got nothing. And when my competition just treats them like a number, and they're one of 100 calls that they made that day, it's pretty easy to differentiate so that consultants and clients can see the difference.
Yeah, and
sorry, I will say this as well. It comes back to those consultants, we're keeping them happy, paying for holiday pay, et cetera. One of the things that a lot of people don't think about when you're providing contractors and temps, and for all you folks out there providing contractors and temps, this is a really good lesson for you. You think about building a relationship with your client, right? Well, I guarantee you, those people on site there every single day, 8 hours a day, 40 hours, 5 days a week, what have you, on site with your client, probably have a closer relationship to your client over time than you will, at least, and if you want an army of salespeople on site with your client, seeing them every single day, treat them well, because that's going to, and also give them referrals. There was a company I met years ago back at the SAP, the big SAP conference, Sapphire, and just so you guys know, my firm does SAP, and there's this consulting company, I forget the name of it. They had about maybe 80, 90 contractors on site at different projects, and in the SAP world, these are, $150, $200 an hour, $250 an hour rates. These are big rates, a lot of amount. They didn't have a single salesperson. What they did was every contractor they put on his job site, they'd send out like a golf shirts with the company name, business cards with their name on it, and said, look, if you get anybody else on site here, you get an override, and the more people you get, the more overrides you get. And then what would happen? So then let's say they left that assignment, the time was over, the project was over. When they go to the next, even if they go through another company to another job site, who they're pitching, the company that's giving them the referrals, the golf shirts, the business cards, and that's how they built their business, was strictly just off that referral network from their contractors. They realized those were their best salespeople, and so just something to consider, and also for you to consider, Ryan, putting something like that together for your folks, because it's been pretty successful when I've seen it. So.
Yeah, I did. I implemented more of those strategies when I was with a bigger national firm that had more of that swag, and it was easy. We had an IT department that could create those email addresses and business cards, and those are down the road, maybe later this year. I'm still only 8 months in. So implement and create that aren't there yet.
So the 8-month thing again still blows my mind. And I'm gonna say, so back to like your thing. So doing the right thing, I think there's a bunch of lessons here before we get into the news. It's your value is what it really is, right? It's not price. You don't have to lower price in a recession to get business. You don't need to come in under someone to differentiate yourself. You don't get referral business because you're cheaper. You don't lose temps that are your temps can get someone calling them right now and offer them $10 less an hour. They're not okay. I all the time, my competitor just came in, they offered them $2 less an hour and they left. We got to raise our prices. Like, no, we're clearly missing the relationship. No one leaves when you find the right relationship. No one leaves on a simple, stupid, short-term money decision, right? It's like they don't. They like when you do the right thing, and again, Ryan, in terms of his demands of his vendors, Ryan, you're very demanding, like I would be. Like, it has to work the way you need it to work for your. You need to be serviced the way you service people, and so right. That's important for you, and we're available for Ryan at 24/7. Ryan emails us at 2 a.m. He's going to get an answer for it, and that's all. That's how everything works, and we're not cheap for what we do. We charge, I think, a really reasonable price for our back office, but it's premium. But that's not what people don't come because Ryan, come use us. We were referred. We knew people that really trusted me, and Ryan trusted, and that's the basis of a relationship, right? But it's like, come in, Ryan. We're going to give you this amazingly discounted deal, and you're like it's just not. It's not the great foundation of business.
I think a lot of it too is it's not so much one of the biggest mistakes I saw people were making going into this recession, or the lockdown, the authoritarian lockdown, as I like to call it, where they would discounting, and I always would tell people, look, at the end of the day, these companies are watching their dollar. Instead of offering them discounts, earn that dollar, like do more to earn that dollar. So over communicate, over deliver. What can you add to your service? What can you do that you haven't done before? Because that way, because again, competing on price is a losing game for everybody. But if you can compete on service, and in fact, for you folks watching this, there's a great I forget the guy's name, but there is a book called The First 100 Days. And I really recommend that. It's about the first 100 days of when you first sign a new client and kind of the stages that they go through psychologically as they work with you the first 100 days. And that's the time where you can either turn that new client into a raving fan, where they come back for more from you, or not. And I recommend that. And you, Ryan, go check that book out. It's a great book, and it just talks about how you can build a world-class client experience.
And you wonder what I think is cool. Another lesson for people. So, my business, and a lot of people don't know, because I've had 2 clients in the last week that, I've watched your show. I'm like, then why are you using my back office coming through a Google ad, or why were you just referred by this other client? And why were you using it? I didn't know you did that. So from now on, I'm going to make sure that I'm a back office service provider in the show very early on, and I help people place temps. But yeah, so again, I was going to tell a really good story about a lesson to be learned for. Oh man, there was son of a gun. I got sidetracked on my plug. That's the worst. A plug where you lose the value that you're about to add is. I'm going to have to come back to it. But it's really key. Ryan takes advantage. So as opposed to outsourcing stuff to us like everyone else does, or most people, Ryan does it the right way. Like our job is to take as much off your plate as you want us to, and we offer everything. Ryan doesn't allow us to take a lot of stuff off of his plate. Now, why? He takes advantage of. He wants all communication going through him, not because he's a control freak, because that's the service of it. It gives him an excuse and a reason to touch his client and to service them and let him know I'm on everything. So simple things that a normal recruiter would say, you guys deal with it. I'm too swamped. You're not too swamped to let your client know what's going to happen with this insert back office thing here that normally Neil's team would call on. Just share that a little bit, because that's part of the service. That's shining light on all the stuff that you've been talking about. And it works amazingly for you, is my point. That's why you're on the show.
Yeah, so I mean, you said I'm not a control freak. I am a control freak, but that's not, that's only part of the reason why I do it. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are control freaks.
Neil's just a freak.
They can't, I'm wired to where I don't really, I've got to do things my own way. I can't really do them other people's way. But no, it is, there's no, So it's almost kind of like the penny saved versus a penny earned, or is a penny earned. It's so much more valuable to keep an existing client or an existing project than it is to win a new one. So what I mean, there's no one gets excited about winning new business more than I do, but if you can, I've seen it happen. You can have 5 or 6 clients in this business, and if you treat them well, that's all you need. You can make a great living, and if you treat those small handful of clients well, so there's never any more important call than, if I get 3 calls, I'm going to put one from an existing client, one from a consultant, and one from a new CFO who I've never, I place accounting and finance, so CFOs are my clients. An introduction to a new CFO who I've never worked with, who needs help today. That new business is going to be my third phone call. I want to take care of my existing business and my existing clients first.
Well, I will say this though, and I will say this, Ryan, as a not disagreed necessarily, but maybe to add on or probably different viewpoints. So the way I look at it is very true. You also want to take care of your clients. And I just talked about the first 100 days and creating like a world-class, like white glove client experience. And that's how you keep them. But I will say this, the trap that you don't want people to fall into when they talk about, I've got my core clients, and what will happen is 3 years down the line, by that time, 2 of those clients have sort of shrinking, higher things happen, and then you lose that because you depend on the legacy business. I would say, in addition to that, it's really hard, but it's doable. Creating that world-class client experience, but also taking those same lessons and developing a world-class sales process experience. So where if you lost all your legacy clients today, you've got a process, and you are confident you can within the next few months bring in another 5 of those core clients and replace them. Because otherwise, sometimes I've seen it, man, bite people in the ass. It's bitten me in the ass. And because, so I think it is a dual thing, man. You got to also really focus on that sales and marketing side of it, even if you don't need it. Because I think there's times when you think you don't need it, it turns out much later you do need it, but you didn't work on it, and that's the issue,
Yeah, there's been times in my career when I've been too busy to focus on developing new business, and then 3 months later, I've got nothing going on, and then I'll look back and it was because I was too busy and I was neglecting developing new business. So I 100% agree with you, but kind of back to Neil's comment about me being organized, and I said I'm not. I'm intentional, but I'm not regimented. I'm very, I will work a 20-hour day if I've got that much going on, but I don't create. I've never made 100 phone calls in a day. I've probably made 50 phone calls in a day 2 or 3 times. And that's when I've got, in my opinion, marketing someone's skill set marketing. If I've got a really great candidate who has nothing going on or they're desperate to leave their job, I'll make 50 calls for that person. But I never make 50 calls just to check the box and say, I made 50 calls today. It's part of my process. I really focus on what's closest to the dollar. What can I close today? And that's where I'll spend my time.
One thing to bring up, I will say this, and one thing that's really helped me a lot in terms of that. So, in fact, I actually have this in my, let me pull this up here, in my 2021 planning session. I had to build an operational machine. So check that out at that.
Oh, that's a reasonable time for a plug. 48 minutes.
I will say this is that I started implementing what I call a value chain dashboard, meaning like, okay, so I've got my delivery, right? So that's all the stuff that's close to the money, delivering on what you promised to the prospects or your new clients, filling the jobs basically. But then you also have the marketing and the sales piece of it, and developing metrics for each of those pillars. Because to take someone who's never heard of you and bring them all the way through a process to where they're a raving fan, so developing, again, that value chain dashboard and metrics, not just like measuring, send that interview to placement ratio and crap like that. That's fine. But what about all the way through? How many people are you in front of on a monthly or weekly basis? How many of those have turned in sales calls? How many of those you convert? How many of those you, all the way down to interview to placement ratio, all the way down to, and in fact, at the very end, doing surveys with your prospects and your clients and your candidates. How well are you doing? Like your net promoter score, if you're familiar with that, with that concept. And I think if you start implementing something like that and check out the trainings and actually have a roadmap to kind of have that balance. So I think it's where people they tend to go one or the other, and then if something breaks at some point, Oh shit! News. Oh crap! All right, what's going on?
I need that old vaudeville hook. That big hook, January 11th, 2021. Today is the news. Now, instead of, that's right. There we go. Now, I'm going for, guess what I'm doing now? I'm going for the Matt Lauer. I went for, you didn't even know it, David. I cut off all my hair. I went for the buzz cut. My brother's like, go for the Matt Lauer. Now, not the bad stuff about Matt Lauer, not the Me Too movement Matt Lauer stuff, but no comment that I shaved off all my hair, David. You're always coiffed. I don't have the beard envy that you could have. I trimmed this guy down because after seeing you and Guptan with all the facial hair, I was intimidated. So no comment on the new look.
On that podcast, so much testosterone.
Yeah, there was. Like, yeah, you guys grow more in your 5 o'clock shadow than I've had in 57 years of hair growth. You know. So, all right. Anywho, so the news. Well, I mean, you would think we have lots of stuff to talk about over that we haven't done the show now in a couple of weeks because of the holidays. So happy holidays to January 11th. Again, felt so far off when we were planning. Even like Brian, I'm like, well, we don't have anything to January 11th. It felt like it was a year ago. No pun intended. I don't mean calendar year, but so anyway, lots of news that would to be expected. I think lots of the same. Lots of polls. This one, again, just going to pick two out. So, we wanted to spend the show not doing too much news, but this is what I found interesting. So workers have, and this is Yahoo Finance. So workers have been calling out sick in record numbers from November onwards. All right. 1.8 million workers who missed work because of being sick. So I have a bunch of thoughts on that. But and it really has affected the supply chain and all sorts of stuff. Thoughts, comments?
Ooh, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Ryan? I've got my thoughts, but let's. Well, actually, let me ask you: Is this COVID related? Like,
well, that's the thing I say. So no, there's no way it's COVID related, right? Because COVID hasn't affected that level of it. So and when people tell me like
flu, we hear that.
If everyone's staying in and they're everything's being shut down and they're washing their hands, they're doing all these things, you're not. Oh, I think I have a little virus. I'm like, no, you didn't. You would have gotten COVID if you're not meeting anyone and you're locked in your house and all the restaurants are closed. What are you getting? Like
well,
you're full of shit.
As some of these people are locked down, so they're at home. So if you're sick, what happens? You spread the people in your house with it. You're with all day long. You're also not getting enough vitamin D because you're not out in the sun. That's why here in Florida, there's no lockdowns and there's no big spikes because we're kind of out in the sun getting vitamin D and we're healthy. And plus we're crazy Floridians who take bath salts, but apparently that provides an immunity. But I think a lot of it has to do with people generally have gotten a lot unhealthier because of these lockdowns.
Oh, dude, I'm 15 pounds heavier. I'm seriously, and you're getting vitamin D, right? You're getting vitamin D. I'm in the cold. I put on 15 pounds at like 3 a.m. to get my vitamin D. I'm putting a muffin in my mouth and I'm taking the open chug of hot curdled milk and I'm chugging like half the thing with milk dribbling down my face. That's my vitamin D, right? 3 a.m. milk and cake. And you're sitting out there with your studly bodies, like getting all the sun. And I got to move, man. I have got to move.
You have to move. You move to a free state.
My thoughts on that are, I think a lot of it is, so I've got family who have One in particular, she works for the state, and she has employees that have some of what you're talking about. She's experienced a lot of recently, and I think a lot of that. So I'm kind of an economist at heart, and I believe people act according to their incentives. And I think the reason maybe it started happening in November, not to get too political, is that I think a lot of the COVID legislation that allowed people to take 2 weeks or a month off for work expired December 31st. So a lot of people were saying, well, I'm not really sick, but I've got 2 free weeks I can take because of COVID, so I might as well take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think
for sure.
Yeah, I think it's sorry, David.
Oh, no, good.
So anyway, I just thought that was interesting because it wasn't necessarily COVID related. All right, my last one just will prove you sort of the point I talked about, and this is Resources Connection. So they're one of the largest management consulting, let's call them very high-end staffing companies. All right, in the second quarter of the year, for all the results that came out, their revenue fell 17%. All right, and their quarters ended the end of November. Okay, so they're not on a fiscal normal year. So the end of November for that whole quarter, so September, October, November, was down 17%. All right, and again, really only down 15% when you take into account currency and stuff like that. It has since grown every single week dramatically. Now, my point is, yes, they do largely. They do largely. It's a very high-end temp business, but the point is, it ties, and it's a sign of the market, and the market was never decimated, right? It never was. And 17, and this is a major, massive company with billions, of billions that you have in revenue. There's major money there, and things aren't down. And again, the temp side of the business, I've talked about that. We're ahead of last year in the temp industry. Anyone that still has the old, well, I'm waiting for things to get a little bit better, stop waiting is my thoughts on it. It's good. It's really good. I have so many clients like Ryan, like others, so many that are crushing it, making a boatload of money, doing really, really well. Stop focusing on all these numbers, because at the end of the day, the big numbers that matter, there's tons of business out there. Perm, temp, there really is. That's my thoughts, and that's my closing thoughts.
Well, there is, and it's not so much, and there's business out there. I think there are definitely challenges. There have been a job in business for a lot of people. I think it's the folks that can't adapt, right? So, for example, I've in marketing or BD, I don't say it so much anymore, but for a while, you would get people that respond to say email solicitations or LinkedIn, whatever, and be the whole Greta Thunberg, how dare you, sell to me during this pandemic, right. Work. It was crazy, and I think, and so there's people that can get past that and know that their prospect, their hiring manager, that need what they have desperately, and they see themselves as an essential service, and they go out there and sell it as such. I think you can do great. But you got to be like a hunter. You gotta get out there with your spear and your loincloth and get ready to go to battle. And I think that this whole thing has flushed a lot of weak salespeople out of the business, which is fine with me. But I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. You just got to be willing to hunt and get past that shit in your head that says that we shouldn't sell during this crisis. No, that's when you need to sell most, right? Because your people need you. They just don't know it. It's your job to go out and let them know, and you're doing them a disservice by not doing that. At least that's the mindset you need to have. That's the way I look at it.
All right, time to wrap up, DSP. You're closing.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that said, I really appreciate your time. I want to let Ryan give his final thoughts. If you have any advice that you can give somebody maybe who's starting a firm this year, maybe he's already started and kind of not knowing how to go about doing things or whatever. What advice would you give them heading into 2021?
I would say, just to kind of add to your point from earlier, I think from a sales perspective, you've got to believe in what you're selling. And so if it's not, if the candidate's not the product, you've got to believe in the service or what differentiates you, because if it's impossible to fake that. And if you don't believe in what you're selling, your clients certainly won't. So I'd say that's huge. And then, for me, I guess everybody's different. I focus a lot on referral sources, people who are influential in my industry who I'm not selling to directly. And I'd say at least half of my business comes from, a friend of a friend who I've treated well or who respects me because I sell almost more to my referral sources than I do directly to clients. So those are kind of my two quick thoughts on selling.
Actually, I will say this, and we'll go a little bit over, but sorry guys, but I will say this, to help with that, there's this cool app that I got a long time ago on AppSumo, but it's not lifetime now, but you can still get it. It's relatively cheap. It's called Cove, Covve. And what Cove does, it integrates with your address book. And what happens is all those we talked about, like referral marketing, relationship marketing, having those people that are key influencers that remember you. What this app does is it lets you know that, for example, Ryan just appeared in the news. He was quoted, or it's his birthday, or he just changed companies. Like, it automatically updates this app on your phone. So when those events happen, you can reach out to, hey, Bob, congrats on that, on being quoted in the accounting quarterly, whatever article. And that's how you get remembered. And that's how when they hear about a need, they remembered, call this Ryan guy. Yeah, I think he's pretty good. So for all you folks out there that want an app for that, Cove, Covve, has been fantastic for me. So
I'm writing that down as we speak. All right. Very cool.
What about you?
So
Neil,
nothing. I just wishing everyone a happy new year. I want to help everyone with their temp business, right? Everyone should know that's what I do, back office, like I do with Ryan. And you got to be selling it if you're not. I say that every single show. You got to be doing it. It's got to be a big part of what you have. Certainly a big part of what's helping Ryan catapult his business. So,
and I'm also a client as well, or about to to sign on for the Kinetic Group for my search firm as well. So you heard it here heard it here first. God, I can't say. You heard it here first, folks. God damn.
All right, hey, those people, Boss Splits, and and Herc Splits. The split boards. Join the split board. We got tons of people on there. It's really got great inertia going on now. We got another group that's joining us in the next week or two. Going to have about 20,000 potential recruiters on that. Do it. We just charge you a monthly fee for it, $99. There's no taking the action. What's that?
Should we announce who it is?
Sure.
The Animal and Recruiters Online.
Yep. The Animal it's wonderful, and we're looking forward to it really soon. And that's it. So we'll see everyone next week. This is a time to kick butt. I mean, it's just no different than 2 weeks from last week. It's just 2 weeks further in, but it is a new year. New you.
Well, thank you, Neil. And I guess for me and my final thoughts, a couple things. If you want to learn a bit more about what we do, if you want to get a price on either Accelerator or Tactical, go to thedigitalheadhunter.com/assessment. And if you are looking to build a sales and marketing machine, I have training on that. Go to digitalheadhunter.com/training. And if you want to build an operational machine for 2021, you can go to Sluggish 2021-planning. Tons of training.
Home field disadvantage. Neil, I'm going to be showing graphics of all my URLs. What are you going to plug?
Yeah,
should I show yours? Or since I'm controlling this on this count, let me just put my stuff up there. That's home field advantage. That is really.
I'll get yours up there next time. And I will say this, guys. I will say I'm very excited about this coming year for prospects for everybody here. I just had a team meeting yesterday. We have 10 people now within the Digital Headhunter, so we actually grow in the team significantly. And some of the plans that we have are pretty significant. I think for a lot of people, I think this new year is going to bring a lot of hope because we just passed a year that was just completely shitty. And I think that a lot of your prospects, a lot of your candidates, a lot of your clients, if you can come in with that message of hope and a new year, I think a lot of people really need to hear that. And so I guess I'll just leave it with that. Go forward in the new year, have hope, deliver that hope to your prospects, be part of the solution, don't be part of the problem, And that's it. That's it. Thank you, everybody. This has been the Headhunters and Boxers Talk Smack Show. Really appreciate it. Ryan, thank you so much for showing up.
Buddy. Really appreciate it.
Neil, whatever. I'll see you next week. Anyway, that's it, everybody. I love you all.
See you all in a week.